myself again, but it's the only way.
Good evening, welcome to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Wraith. It's Geordies here, Geordies there, and we've got George, Mitch, Stu, Al, Waleed, and Steve Wilkinson with us. Steve Hasty should be joining us at some point. Don't forget, this is the show where you get to ask George. So get your questions in over the next half hour, and we will pick the best question and ask George around about 6:30. So get them in on the chat. That would be great. And we'll also have our other regular segment on this show, which is Geordies around the world. And we've got a photograph with somebody on in a certain place around the world with a tune top on. So always worth seeing. But straight into the chat, and already a few early questions in. So let's start with that. Geordie Toomba Life says, another question, lads. Which three players are you going to leave out of the squad and why? Mine are Lewis, Clark and Gillespie. And then he's got Hayden in brackets if it's a long-term injury. As for the keeper, we can call up Langley if needed. Okay, George. It's a good question to start with. It's a question on everybody's lips. Which three players are you going to leave out the squad to leave a 25-man squad?
Wow. Certainly Clark, I agree with that one. Yes, and Lewis, I'd go with you with that one. The other one, I wouldn't leave... did you say Gillespie?
Yeah, I'll leave it up on the screen there. Are Lewis, Clark and Gillespie.
No, I don't think I'd want to hang on to a reasonable goalkeepers because it's a position where you get a bad injury, you can get another one straight away. So I would hang on to him. Kraft, I would send Kraft home. that's how little I think of Kraft. I'm afraid he wouldn't play in a black and white shirt again for me.
Okay, so simple question. That's your three. Mitch, what about you?
For me, Richie, Hayden, and possibly one of either Gale, because I don't know what he's doing there. Because even if even when we were short of someone to play up front, he wasn't being played, and that's by two different managers, not just one. So you kind of wonder what the hell is he clogging a place in the squad up for. And it would be probably because we've added Dan Burn, one of the centre backs, and I know. I know it seems like Clark is going to be the one, but I think that is based on purely on current form, if you will. But I think he's been such a good servant. I think I would personally keep him in the squad, but I know that doesn't seem to be the way it's going to go.
Okay, yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? And this is it's a good job we haven't got to make the decision. What about you, Stu?
I was with Mitch there. I thought I would have been quite controversial saying Gale because we're short of forwards, but he's not doing anything. He looks uninterested. He was confrontational, if we remember, last season with Graham Jones, and when Jones says these fans are giving up everything to come and watch you play, and allegedly, I stress allegedly, his answer was F the fans. I'm getting me 40-odd grand a week, I'll do what I want. And so his attitude, and now if he started with a clean slate under Eddie Howe, then it's obviously that he hasn't done much anyway. So that's not to say that. So I would think just one bad apple can spoil the cart, as the saying goes. So on that basis, I would say him. Then I would say Gillespie as well. Then if it depends on Hayden's injury. Now, I think Kieran Clark, Matt Ritchie, and I suppose you could even put Paul Dummett in the same mix. They're professional, they're committed. They love the area, they love the fans, and but that doesn't get you a place in a squad that's on the way up. But at least you know what you're getting with it. So I would say Gillespie, Gale, and if Hayden's injury is as bad as it is, then I would say that. But Lewis, I can understand why, because he was only just starting to show glimpses before he got injured, but he had a while to prove himself. But there's enough cover there because we know Dan Burn can play left back. And then if Clark was to stay in the squad, then he can be fitted into the centre-half role, left-sided centre-half role anyway. And the one thing I said on Monday night when we did the transfer show was it's quite clear that Fernandez is close to full fitness again. Otherwise, he'd be one of the players that would be out of the squad for the rest of the season, wouldn't he? So to me, it looks like Fernandez has come back in, which is a big boost because of the way he defends and in his calm head in bad situations, etc. So it could be long term. You could be looking at Fernandez partnering, well, not long term, but for the rest of the season, partnering Burn, unless of course they change to a 3 at the back. But they've got the options now, and they've got choices, which is really the most important part. So rather than waffle on, I would say if I had to pick 3, I would say Gillespie because 2 keepers, maybe we do need a 3rd keeper. But Hayden, if his injury is going to keep him out till the end of March, then the damage is done by then anyway. It's the next 4 or 5 games that are going to be pivotal in our season. So that's when we need the squad to be as strong as possible. But you could even look to keep one space open for a loan signing. People are touting Diego Costa and stuff like that. So you might just run with a 24 for now. But I'm glad you said it, Steve. It's Eddie Howe's choice, and that's what he gets paid the big bucks for. So whoever it is, you can bet that there'll be 2 different reactions. As I mentioned earlier, there'll be a professional committed reaction, or there'll be an uninterested, I don't care, I'm getting paid anyway reaction. And I know who I'd have in my squad every day of the week if that was the choice.
Yeah, me too. Al-Walid, what about you? What is your choice? Which 3 would you leave out?
It's going to be a hard call, but can I ask you, please, if this is including also the players on loan or no, just now?
Well, the players on loan won't come into it because they're out of the picture till the end of the season.
I see. So it's apparently, it's going to take until the summer. It's have to be more than 3. So unfortunately, some players. They must leave, and I think some of the players know that they are eventually they will leave. But if I have to choose the 3 now, I will choose 1 from each position or from each line to not make much balance, affect the balance. So maybe, unfortunately, I like Gale, but as you see, as Mitch says, he's barely. Even if we didn't have any striker at all, he need to play. So that's big reason to be Gale for coach's choice. In the middle field, maybe I'm not really sure who we have in the middle field. Not to play much. That's Matty. He went on loan. Okay, so in defense, maybe also maybe Clark or Fernandez, because I am surprised that. Eddie Howe says Fernandez will not play until long time, which for me he seemed ready. And also I noticed in Jeddah he's not I think he's kind of away from the team. I don't know why. And also of course Gillespie, because I didn't think I think in the summer we're getting a goalkeeper. And even Dubravka or Darlow will be in the bench. Gillespie, I think he have no place in team.
Again, another interesting selection. Steve Wilkinson, what's your take on that one?
Yeah.
Don't question this Geordie tune for life. Well done.
Excellent. Yeah. I think looking at the 3 names there, I think Gillespie's got to stay in. I think you need 3 keepers in because we're panicked forward at the beginning, and it's feasible to get an injury to Dubravka, and then you're needing Darlow to play and Gillespie on the bench. I think it's the pressure we're going to have in these months ahead to get a junior player to come on even on the bench. I think is too much. So I think you leave Gillespie in. I think Lewis sad that he hasn't developed, but I think we've got a lot of cover. Since Dummett came back, and obviously we've signed a one. Manquillo played great when he came on, so I think we can sacrifice Lewis on the left. Sad to say, Richie, I think, is the one. And as much as he's a grafter and a leader, I can't see him even getting. You certainly wouldn't see him playing left back again, and I couldn't see him playing on the wings, because I think we've got the likes of Murphy, who I think played well when he played there. We're going to be playing probably with the ASM down the wing on the left. We've seen that Fraser has improved a lot since Howard came in. So I think Richie, sadly, will be the one. I was very surprised that Richie didn't go out somewhere. Either on it, I would have given a free transfer at this stage of his career, and wish him luck as it haven't been a good tournament. Again, it depends on Hayden, I think, as to whether he's likely to come back. I think he's a sound player to slot in that midfield in a defensive role, coming off the bench if you had to. But I think it's probably Clark. We've got Dummett's back, who can also play in the centre. I mean, that might have been I think I don't know whether we'll get onto this debate on later on as to who plays alongside Byrne next week. And I think I wouldn't be surprised if Dummett played in the middle with Matty Targett at left back. And
great shout.
So I think I would go with Lewis, Clark, and Matt Ritchie.
Yeah, I'm not sure he's going to make as many changes. I've got to be honest. I've had this debate with a few people over the last couple of days, and the team played well. They got a result at Leeds. How many of these players that we've brought in are going to feature on Tuesday? It's going to be fascinating. It's going to be the most interesting team selection of the season, that's for certain. Steve Hasty, just a quick one. How did the funeral go today? Because obviously it was our good friend Dave Harrison's funeral.
Yes, I think as funerals go, I think it went okay. It was nice to see a fantastic turnout, both from the archery community and the Newcastle United fans community. Some nice words, nice service. Family are a lovely family anyway. They took it really well. So as I say, as funerals go, I suppose you could say it was good. It'd be a big miss. We all know that. But thanks for asking, Steve.
Yeah, our thoughts go with his family. Apologies for me not being able to make it today, but Dave was in my thoughts today, certainly, and I'm sure a lot of Newcastle United supporters. The questions there, Steve. I know you tuned in a little bit later today, but Geordie Toonfalike was just wanting to know which three players you would leave out of the squad, and his suggestion was Lewis, Clark, Gillespie, and Hayden. You've heard what a few of the lads have had to say. What's your take on that?
I just tuned in just as Stewie said one bad apple, and then I appeared on the screen. I was getting a bit worried there, Stu.
Never.
My three, I would very rationally, I would go for one would be Richie, purely because he hasn't been featuring. I understand he wasn't even on the Saudi trip. I don't know whether that's true. I did hear Al Walid maybe spotted him, but I didn't hear anything on that side. So Richie for me is one. I think positionally wise, we're well covered. Second one, I heard Stu saying, and I presume I'm talking about the same player when it comes to attitude. Attitude over the last 3 seasons in terms of what he's put in Newcastle United would be Gale. And my third choice, simply because of the injuries that he's currently carrying, would be Hayden. They're my three. I wouldn't take any of the goalkeepers out. I suppose you could look at it rationally, because we know that Dubravka's been carrying injury for a while and seems to be picking up little niggles and knocks and twists and turns, and I'm a little bit concerned that way. I think it's been like that all season, and that's why I would keep Gillespie in. I like Lewis. I think that Lewis is probably in the same situation as Murphy was possibly a couple of seasons ago. And that's why people are saying that he's going to be left out. Because there's, someone at the club's looking for him to go on a loan somewhere lower down the league to get his confidence back or his fitness or whatever. But my three would be Richie, Gale, and Hayden.
Okay, that's answered your question, Geordie Toonfalike. I don't think we've had a more comprehensive answer than that from a panel ever. So you got everybody's views. I know we shouldn't judge a player on snippets, says Mark Byers. Having watched Bruno's 20-minute cameo last night, he is a player. Granted, the opposition were poor, but you can see how quick his brain is. He's different level to what we've been used to. And Jan Levens says, seen the Brazil-Paraguay game last night, 4-0. Miggy had a good run out, but didn't get any balls. Bruno came on for the last 20 and was absolutely mint. Got an assist and was brilliant. George, we haven't seen a great deal of him. I'm not sure whether you've sat and watched much of him either. It's not really a league you would sit and watch unless you knew you were going to get the player and you could find some channels with him on. But from what we've seen of him, it looks like we've signed a player who is certainly going to take us into the next level over the next couple of years.
Outstanding. All the bits and pieces that I've seen of him, that tend to be bits of video on international level, a little bit, and he's at club level, and it all looks good. And if you look at the official statistics in terms of his distribution and all the rest of it, and his assists, he's well ahead of most of the people that we've got, which is a good sign anyway. The other thing I like about it is he's not going to be the only Brazilian at the club. We're going to have someone else to be mates with and all the rest of it. And I think that might help the other Brazilian. I could be wrong, but I just have a feeling that with someone speak his own language with on a daily basis and etc., and that might bring our current Brazilian along and a little bit as well and get him more into things. But I'm looking forward to seeing this lad. He's let's face it, it wasn't just us that wanted this player. It was a lot of people wanted this player. So if we've got it wrong, a lot of other people have got it wrong as well. And I don't think we have actually. As I say, it's just someone to come into the midfield with a bit of panache, a bit of able to put his foot on the ball, that he'd be able to do things, get that quick ball without having to think about it, and get things going from midfield. We've had some good play, but with the best will in the world, you don't get quick balls of John Joe Selvey unless they're 60 yards long, and then it's in the air long enough for all the defenders to get round him. Whereas with this lad, where I've seen of him, he could do 1-2s and do all sorts of slip through, which should make our link between midfield and attack and defence and attack much more fluent, I would say. So yes, I'm looking forward to him. I think he's an excellent buy.
Yeah, definitely is. It brings back memories of the entertainers, Mitch, doesn't it? With a foreign acquisition coming in who's highly rated that other teams wanted, and Newcastle have pipped everybody to the post and brought him in. And there's an anticipation, I think, about his debut more than most.
Brings back shades of Mirandino, even for me, and it's the kind of thing players like, or Leon rather, have a history of bringing in South American players, exposing them to Champions League football, moving them on for a profit, and then they raise their game and go to the next level wherever they move on to. Historically, it's usually been Italian football, when Serie A was the league everybody wanted to be in. Now it's the Premiership, and like my dad's just said, it wasn't just us that was after him and about to spend good money on him. So it is exciting. It is very exciting to turn around and spend that kind of money on a player with the confidence that he's going to drop into the side and be a real game changer for her. And I think certainly on the snippets I've seen, again, we're in Mike Oxlong territory, aren't we? But on the bits and bobs I've seen and what you read about him in the press and what you see on other channels and other people are raving about him, some of the stuff I've seen him involved with is really next level stuff. And if he can prove to be the lock we finally need or the key we finally need to unlock a few defences, but also he offers a little bit more in terms of protection and mobility in the midfield. So that sort of mobility we've really been missing as part of cover for the back four. So it's exciting to see. I'm excited to see how he slots in whatever formation Howe's got in mind for him, and then what he can deliver really throughout box to box. Which, I don't think we've signed a proper box to box midfielder for a long time.
No, definitely not. I mean, we've had some great midfielders, Stu, over the years, haven't we? Rob Lee, Gary Speed, probably the two that are my favourites in recent times. But this kid looks special.
Yeah, Rob Lee's birthday yesterday as well, wasn't it?
It was.
The kid does look special, and you know, it's you start getting like the butterflies, thinking, what have we done here? This is a marquee signing, you know. And although we don't know that much about him, every report is good, not just about his ability, but about the way he plays, his attitude, the fact he can defend, he can run with the ball, he can pass the ball, he can use both feet, he can shoot, you know, and it's probably the nearest we've got to Rob Lee since Rob Lee. There's been a big gap in that time, and this guy can dominate the midfield, and if other teams start getting worried about him, then they'll have to double up with him, which then exposes someone else, you know, which gives us a bit more leeway in the middle. So I'm really excited about the Bruno Guimaraes signing, and I know he was described by our future captain, shall we say, without giving any names away, the new right back we've got. He described him as elegant in a conversation. And how many footballers do you call elegant? You know, and if you've got someone like that, to me, that's we keep banging on about statements of intent. And it was his people that said that the club were going to spend 400 million or something in the summer. You know, that's what was reported. So you can entice people, but you've got to put the proof where you've got to put your money down, haven't you? And having the quality like Trippier, having the quality like Guimaraes in your team already, that will attract people. And for all intents and purposes, Botman's already nailed his colours to the mast, hasn't he, for the summer? So it's like a juggernaut that's going to not get out of control, but it's going to get to where we want to get to a lot quicker. And I think it won't be long. Maybe I would say two more windows before we all really are where we'd like to be, contending, and we'll no longer will be a stepping stone for players to come from foreign fields and say, right, I'll play for Newcastle to get in their eye and get signed by a bigger club, because we will be one of those bigger clubs. We are fan base wise, but I'm talking about like league position and stuff like that. And then that's when we can attract the top players. When we're in those sort of positions, and they'll be jockeying to sign for us, they'll want to be part of this. And that's what I liked about Botman's statement when he says like he likes the project. You know, so what he's saying is, I'm here, come and get me, please. And he is a quality centre half, and you don't want to make comparisons, but he's good enough to be our Vincent Kompany for the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years, if and when we get him. So if you've got any successful team has a strong spine, and once you've got that sort, you've got your centre halves, your centre midfields, and I don't think anyone on this panel or anyone probably watching has any doubt we'll sign a top-notch centre forward in the summer. Then you know we've got the access or the basis of a really, really strong team that's capable of challenging for Europe next season. And I might be getting out my depth saying we're not even in the league. We might not even be in the league next season, the Premier League. But I honestly think we could challenge for Europe next season. I don't see why people talk about a 3-year plan, a 5-year plan. Living out here, dealing with people in the Middle East, specifically Saudi clients, I deal with a lot. They don't want second best. They want the best, and why should they wait for it? You know, and they'll do as much as they can. And I think they've proven that this window as well. You know, and I know there's been a few spats on Twitter, but we have to remember Twitter's only a small percentage of the Newcastle fan base, and normally people go on there just to have an argument or sound big behind a hidden name or behind a keyboard. But when you have someone like Peryev backing you, they want to get exactly where they want to. Why should they wait? Why should they have to wait 3 years because that's the done thing, or 4 years because that's what they did? They want to get people in now, and we spent £90 million this window, That's not just the most in the Premier League. It's not just the most in Europe. It was more than any club on this planet. That's what our owners did for this club. Now, we might have started off in a worse position and needed more investment, but to put the money where their mouth is, they're committed to this. We need to get behind them and get on this ride together. And Guimaraes, Trippier, etc., they're just the start of it. And I can't wait to keep watching this club over the next, well, as long as I'm alive, really, because I think we're going to be winning lots for not even the next few years, for decades. We can dominate world football. Imagine that being said to you 2 years ago. This is the position we're in.
Imagine that being said 4 months ago. Exactly, yeah. It's great.
Yeah, but it was always, but before PIF were linked, that's the point I'm getting at. It was before it was like we just wanted Ashley out. Now we spend more than, as I said, more than any other club, and we've got the capability to keep doing it. And you can't buy success, but you can get to a point where success breeds success. If you follow what I'm saying, we can climb very quickly, and then the big players will want to come, but won't be the stepping stone that we have been in the past.
Al-Walid, the marquee signing that we are talking about, is that a big signing for you, Bruno? Have the people in Saudi Arabia seen that as a good signing?
Of course, we are buzzed for this signing because we all know that especially Brazil team, it's very hard to join a Brazil team in first place for any players. If you remember Deco, he was Portuguese Brazilian players, but he chose to play for Portugal. And before that, if I'm not mistaken, Scolari back then, they asked him why you didn't get Deco at Brazil. He said, we have million Deco. And that's so after that, Deco joined the Portugal team. So the point is, it's very hard to be in Brazil team. And Guimaraes, I watched the game of Brazil and Paraguay. He played at the last minutes, but actually I didn't watch him before because I mainly watch the Premier League and maybe Saudi League. That's all. So I didn't watch much of or at all maybe the French league. But what I saw, the good thing I think about Guimaraes, it's gonna be his play with his mind before his feet. It's good to have a player, experienced player in every line. We have Dubravka for goalkeeper, international goalkeeper. We have Trippier at the defense back, and we have Guimaraes in the midfield. Because to be honest, we have good players, but when we see them over and over, especially with the games, there is a lot of organizer missing in the midline, which is the area of operation. And I think Guimaraes is the one. He's the one who will run this middle field, and I'm sure this will happen in first game he will play with us.
Okay, a lot of people asking lots of questions. We'll get through a couple of them in the second half of the show. Steve, just your thoughts, Steve Wilkinson, your thoughts on Bruno and how he's going to change the team and potentially who he's going to play alongside, I guess, in that central midfield role. There's a few options in there. It
was the question I was going to raise, actually, your thoughts on that. But are we going to see two Brazilians playing? Because I'm not so sure that Joe Linton is the right player to play with him. But I mean, I'm guessing they're going to work on that. I see him as the key role, and I've only seen snippets on YouTube of him, and he looks quality. He wins the ball. He can pass it, some fantastic forward passes, which Wilson must be, training extra hard to get back and receive some of these through balls I've seen him give. But it's a key role that's been coming to people like Declan Rice, Calvin Phillips, that middle midfield role of getting forward and breaking up attacks from the other team, and then creating the forward is going to be key. And if it is going to be like the Shelby, we're going to start to see Shelby in the opposition half, which he's more used there than playing deep in front of the back four. There should be no need for Shelby to ever be that far back again, because we're not going to be playing that sort of ball. I would like to see that Willock will be able to run off him better. If Willock he had a better second half against Leeds, as we all saw, and and I think his running is going to be important. And he's still, as was last season, might be vital in getting the goals that keep us up. You know, we didn't anticipate last year that he was going to be key as a goal scorer when we brought him in. But he saved us last year with these goals, and maybe he can do the same this year. So I'm interested. I would be tempted to be playing with Bruno, Shelby, and Willock as the if we're going to play three across the middle, and Joe Linton coming off the bench, impact in varying positions.
Okay, Steve, what about you, Steve Hasty?
Yeah, you know what? I just read a little snippet in the Chronicle before we came on air where Gamesh was talking about he wanted to be a winner. Now, it was only 3 years ago that he was playing in a cup final in Brazil. He moves to France. There's a couple of seasons there, and he gets himself into the international lineup for Brazil. And the guy sounds like he wants to be a winner. And that can only be of the benefit in Newcastle United. I think what we've got is we've got a player with energy. I mean, you talk about Rob Lee, heard Stewie mention it there. And we've got a player who also said it that you know he can run through walls. He can tackle. He can move. He can push a team on. He can drive a team. That's what Rob Lee did. It was only in the latter years that you saw Rob Lee dropping deep, wasn't it, and playing more of a holding midfielder that was releasing other people. And then we saw Gary Speed playing a similar role where he played slightly deeper. But in that heyday, those were players that played advanced roles for Newcastle United. And that's what we've been crying out for. We've been crying out for midfielders who, because of what we've had behind them, have possibly been a little bit scared because they've been coached into protecting the back four. We've already strengthened the back four. Now we're in a situation where we can play that further 10 yards further forward or 15 yards further forward. And I think what it also does is he gives you the versatility of playing a different style of midfield. We can go narrow if we want. We can go a diamond. We can play him in a holding role. We can play Shelby on one side and perhaps Willock on another, and then somebody sitting up in the central pivot. We can go 2 and 2. And we can go 3 and 2 with one striker. You know, there's options there, and I think when you've got a dynamic midfielder coming into the team, that's what it gives you, because it gives you the energy, and I think the energy feeds off with the other squad members. So I'm excited. Whether we actually see him on Tuesday or whether we have to wait till the following Sunday is probably another matter, and that's. I'll leave that to Eddie Howe, as Stewie mentioned. I think there was another thing that you said, Stu, which was he doesn't want to be second best. And you know what? For the last 14 years, at times we've had to put up with second best. What we're seeing now is we're not going to be putting up with second best. We're going to be getting players that want to play for Newcastle United and can play for Newcastle United and will play for Newcastle United and run through walls. And if that,
but isn't it nice that every player that we sign will improve the team, not the squad, improve the team.
Exactly, and
that's how you progress quicker.
That's right, and they improve themselves, they improve each other, they improve themselves, and they go out because they're winners and they want to show that they're winners. And being in the crowd watching players like that makes it even more exciting, doesn't it? I know we're sitting 90.
Because you're as strong in a team, you're as strong as your weakest link, aren't you? And if your weakest link is strong, then we're going to get better.
Exactly. So I'm really looking forward to it. Really, really looking forward to it. I think he's an absolutely brilliant acquisition. But I think we also signed some other decent players as well.
Yeah, we did. I think Matt Target's probably the most underrated in this window. We'll come back to that, though, because it's time for Ask George. So, George, your pearls of wisdom on this question from Ian Hull, please. Can you ask George what he thought of Tony Green? Always was told that he was easily one of the best players to put a black and white shirt on. Memories of Tony Green, please, George.
Well, he answers his own question. He absolutely was one of the best players to put on a black and white shirt. And we'll be talking about midfielders, and then people talk about box to box and be able to run and all the rest of it. Well, Tony Green had it all. He could play long balls. He could play short balls. He could hit the ball in the back of the net. He was as brave as an ox. In fact, because he's brave, he got injured. He went into something which a lot of people would have pulled out of. And unfortunately, he came off worst. And that was the cause of the knee injury that lost him his career. I have to say, I have personal thing about in those days how Newcastle dealt with knee injuries. I don't think we were the best at that, but we went too soon for the insurance. But yes, Ian Hull's absolutely right. He was one of the best players to pull on a shirt, and he could do 50-yard runs. He could do 10-yard quick runs. He could do all of that and drive the team forward and play neat short balls, and then he could play the long ball, which in my opinion would be even better than anything Shelby plays, because it was a very speedy, very direct. It wasn't up in the air, so it'd give time for the defenders to get ready to go for the ball. It was direct to the player he was passing it to. So a lot of his balls were killer balls. It's a tragedy that he didn't get much more of a career. Had Tony Green, in my opinion, got another couple of seasons with us, he would have been, in my opinion, held in the same revered as a player as Peter Beardsley is today. That's where Tony Green is for me. He's that kind of player, could influence the game, but sadly he never got that opportunity, and that was quite tragic. But a great player. Absolutely right what Ian says.
Okay, Ian, I hope that answers your question. And yeah, I mean, the stories that I've heard from, my relatives, etc., who saw him are similar to George's, that he was just a unique talent, but unfortunately, because of injury, we never got a chance to. He never got a chance to go on and do what he should have been able to do in a black and white shirt. Okay, thanks for that, George.
Steve,
go on. Yeah, go on.
Can I answer another one that was in the feed last week about Malcolm McDonald's transfer fee?
Okay.
The £333,333 and 34 pence. Arsenal tried to get Malcolm over a period of time, and every time they rang up and spoke to Seymour just upped the price a little bit. Started at 200,000, 250, 275, and Arsenal walked away. And then Hillwood, the chairman, he'd got this phone chromium plated, and he used to call it his silver phone. So he got his silver phone, and instead of phoning Seymour, he phoned the chairman, Lord Westwood, and said to Lord Westwood, "I'll give you $350,000, and that's it. Take it or leave it, that's it. That's the last offer, $350,000. And Westwood said to him, "If you give us another penny, the deal's done." And that's why it's got the 34 pence on the end and not 33 pence. So the extra penny that he gave Westwood was why Malcolm's transfer fees what it was.
Yeah, Malcolm's told the story on here many times,
Yeah.
and to be honest, that it's just that image he portrays of the guy sitting in the middle of his lawn and the servants coming out with the phone on a tray, and walking out into the middle of this garden with this long wire to give him the phone. Great way of telling it. Okay, another player who has been linked since the transfer window closed with Newcastle. George, I will give you the first answer on this, as I'm still with you, is Diego Costa. There he is in black and white, although not the black and white of Newcastle. Is this a player that you'd like to see at Newcastle, yes or no?
Yes, if he's fit. I'd have to be persuaded that he was match fit. But if he is, then he's the sort of centre forward I like. As you've heard me say on here before, sort of centre forward that makes a nuisance of himself all the time, doesn't give the defenders any peace at all, and he could come in and do a job, even if it was just till the summer or whenever. I would seriously think about risking a contract with him. Yeah, but if he's fit, only if he's fit.
Okay, well, I'll come to you, Mitch, and say, is it a possibility, do you think?
There's a lot of noise about it, but I'm not sure how much truth there is in it. My understanding was he'd finished his contract in Brazil and moved to another Brazilian team. But that seems not to have happened yet. So whether there has been contact by somebody somewhere, I guess we'll see when the official squad announcement's made. Because if it's 24, there's a space there. And that space could be for him. Personally, if it's possible, I would do it. He's an absolute shithouse, and we need that kind of thing in our team. That would be the last piece of the puzzle, to bring somebody like that in who just upsets people, and upsets people in every single way you can on a football pitch. by scoring goals and then by asking the centre back afterwards, "Did you see me score that goal?" And then punting the centre back up the backside if she thinks nobody's looking. You know, I love a bit of that in my team. It's the kind of another element to the team that we're maybe missing a little bit. And I think if again, as my dad says, if he's fit and he wants a last hurrah at the top flight at 6 months, it would be very different. Funny enough, seeing John Barnes' name on the screen, very, very different to the John Barnes and Ian Rush kind of signings that were made.
Yeah.
This would be somebody who would want 6 months of really getting stuck in, because he comes across as the kind of bloke who, once he crosses the white line, it's 100% or it's nothing. Yeah. And so for me, yeah, if it's possible, but I still think all the noise seems to be coming out of a hope to do it rather than something's actually happening.
Okay, Stu, is he worth a punt? I mean, you know, we've got this awful situation at the moment where we still don't know what the situation is with Chris Wood. Obviously, COVID hit the New Zealand squad. He could have to isolate Stu, and you've got. Go on.
Can I just interject on this? The New Zealand team manager made a statement to the press locally here in Dubai today, saying that the incident hadn't soured his relationship with any of the top clubs, which I don't know whether that's a veiled suggestion that the players that they've got who are going back to top flight clubs are actually all okay.
Oh, well, that's good news. That hasn't filtered over here yet, but
that's as much as he said, which you could interpret that a long way, because that could also be, we can't send the players back, but the clubs are okay with me about it. That's the other way you can interpret that. So
let's think on the positive side. It's not going to happen, Stu. But I mean, look, at the end of the day, it might, and we could end up in an awful situation where we don't have any recognised strikers for the Everton game, which would be a travesty. So is looking for Costa, bearing in mind that it's unlikely we'll see Wilson back in a black and white shirt till the first week in March. Is that something which is viable? Is it something we should be doing?
Well, I'm going to disagree with Dr. Neil and say I wouldn't touch Diogo Costa. Had it been like the close season and you've got type of embedment of the squad, then yes, he's definitely worth a punt. But at the moment, he's coming from Brazil. That league's not as competitive as the Premier League as much as we want to dress it up. We need people who are ready here and now. And he's a loose cannon. And from all the sounds that we hear, and is Eddie Howe's building camaraderie amongst the squad, and he can just come in and just disrupt it. I'm getting paid X amount, stuff that we don't need it. And I find it quite ironic that at the start of the window, especially after just before the window, when we knew that Callum Wilson was injured, we were crying out for a signing for a centre forward. We sign a centre forward, then people complain about. Now they're complaining that he might not be coming back. You know, like, what is it? Do you want him playing or do you not want him playing? Do you want him there? Do you not want him there? So I'm glad we have a strong manager like Eddie Howe, that he might listen to the noise, but it doesn't let him affect his vision and his path that he wants to go down. But personally, I wouldn't take. I don't think Costa's worth the risk at this stage. He's a target man. He's a target man, and I think it might have been Steve Wilkinson that mentioned it earlier, that the defence, it's definitely the midfield, can move forward 10 or 15 yards, and the defence will be more trusted. They'll be better equipped, better drilled, and more talented. So we should be looking forward instead of trying to fill gaps. But so no, I wouldn't take Diogo Costa. But there was one question. I know George just nearly answered it. I wanted to ask George when the Tony Green question came, because there was a lot of. Obviously, I've heard a lot about him. I'm not old enough to watch them myself. But what player would George have related Tony Green to in the modern era? Who would you compare him to? I know you said Beardsley, but that's like the days gone by now. Playing in the Premier League now, which player would you say Tony Green reminds you of?
Playing in the Premier League now, well, that's a good one. Well,
I'll take your time anyway. But the reason I've said all that, sorry, George, the reason I said all that is because our friend, Mr. Al-Walid, who's there, he told me that Wilson's back in a couple of weeks, and that was last week. So there's not a really great need for a striker straight away. So that answers me Costa question.
Actually, I've thought about what you asked, and if you're trying to compare with today, the name that comes to mind when I think about it is the lad that's gone to Aston Villa, Coutinho. That's how good Tony. Wow. That's how good Tony Green was.
Wow.
Okay, well there you go. That's your answer. Al-Walid, Diego Costa.
I think we can get a player because he's a free agent. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, yeah, I take him definitely. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, you would.
Yeah, sure. He's and as Dr. Neil says, we really need that behavior.
Yeah, we definitely do. We need somebody who's going to score goals. That's what we need between now and March when Wilson comes back.
Yeah, and it will not hurt to have him in the squad.
Yeah. Okay. Steve Wilkinson, Diego Costa, does he float your boat?
Yes and no. I think when I think it was Mick Laws was on with you, not Saturday ago on the one before, and he was talking about the worry of getting a marquee player in and being disruptive to the dressing room, as Stu's just said, that if he is coming in on, if he was saying, well, I want 300 grand a week or something to do that, and I'm guessing that even none of the players are, even Bruno won't be getting massive money at this stage to anything like that. And if he was coming in and getting that sort of money, I think it could disrupt the dressing room. And while, if you take him as a player, even if he was just coming off the bench, he's likely to be impact and having a positive effect. But it's, like the way Abramovich did at Man United a few years ago, he could get goals and he could make a big difference. But that would be my worry, that he might be disruptive in the what you were hoping is a good compact togetherness in the dressing room. They brought primarily Premier League players in, so a lot of them knew each other before they've come in, and I think that's something that we're going to have to build on, that team camaraderie to get us forward. And I wouldn't like to see that disrupted. But if Dwight Gale's doing that in there, then he's got to get shifted out, and maybe you bring Costa in instead of Dwight Gale. But I would err on the negative on it.
Yeah, the Dwight Gale situation is so annoying. It really is. And if he's not going to get a game, it's pointless having him here. He's just sitting making money out of the football club and not contributing anything. It's just crazy. It really is. And if those, that alleged story that Stu mentioned earlier is true, then you can understand why he's not getting anywhere near the team. But as I say, that's an alleged story. So we will wait and see. Steve Hasty, Diego Costa. I mean, I've got to be honest, I think it's worth a punt. If it's for 6 months, I'm going to pay him a little bit of money to come and try and help us get out. It would certainly get the crowd behind him, and he's got a bit of a character. He's an entertainer, and that's what you need, really. Somebody who's just going to give a little bit as well, like Mitch mentioned earlier. Yeah,
he's a Luis Suarez without the fangs, isn't he? That's who Diego Costa is.
That Diego Suarez.
Which Diego Costa are you going to buy? You're going to buy the Diego Costa that scored 43 goals for Atletico in 94 games, or the 10 goals in 16 of Vallecano, or the 52 goals in 89 for Chelsea, or the 12 goals in 61 games for Madrid, or 4 goals in 15 games for Mineiro. Both the last 2 clubs he's walked out on. There's got to be something wrong since he left Atletico that's meant that he's wanted to walk away from both Atletico and his current club and leave himself in the lurch. And he's only scored, like I say, 16 goals in 70-odd games. So there's something not right with him. He's 33-year-old as well. Whether he just feels as though he's more settled for being on the beach or playing, at such a level that he doesn't need to try anymore, I don't know. But for me, it would be a massive, massive gamble. And I know people are saying, yeah, you can get him. He's a free agent. But to get him, you've got to make another space in the 25-man squad. So we're now leaving 4 out of the ones that we've got. let's face it, we all struggled to get 3, didn't we? And so it's a quandary, isn't it? But I think there's probably, I mean, there's all sorts of players free, I'm sure, but they're all old. They're old or they're past it. That there are Jack Wiltshire that's 31. You know, there's a Diego Yedlin who's 30 odd. These type of players, there's a reason why they're free at this particular junction, this particular part of the season. You know, so for me, you go with what you've got. You've got your 2 strikers. Okay, Wood might be struggling if he's got COVID. We don't know. Al Walid's convinced that, and he should know he's a physio that Wilson's coming back. But you know, you just play with 1 striker, and we've got the players who, as we've said earlier, with a strengthened, tightened midfield and a strengthened, tightened back 4. We're not conceding goals. That's what we were struggling was. We're struggling to hold a lead. And when we have taken the lead, one being holding, for me, we've tightened up the back to do away with that issue, to get away so we can hold the lead and hopefully push on and hopefully get a second goal. And that's the way I think Eddie Howe's going to be looking at it for the rest of the season. So whether, for me, no, not a Diego Costa. If he came, I would almost certainly believe that he wouldn't see the rest of the season out. He would be gone in a matter of weeks, for one reason or another, and it would all end in tears. And I don't think we need that disruption.
Okay, got about 8-9 minutes left, so let's just ask the lads. Good transfer window, yes or no, George?
Yes. I mean, it's interesting that I think I said it last week. Isn't it great to see we're at the front of a queue for a change? And, you know, going for quality players and a lot of sensible players, in my view. The fact that we bought 2 defenders who are actual left footers is brilliant for me, because when Dummett's not there, we're struggling with somebody at that left side. You know, Matt Ritchie tried his heart out, but he really wasn't up to it. So a brilliant window for me. I mean, I was interested to read the comments. I don't know if any of the rest of you see the chairman of Gillingham Football Club this morning saying how clubs like his were scrapping around for pennies and shillings, while at the top they're spending hundreds of millions of pounds. And I get his point, but the point I'd make back to him is in terms of Newcastle being involved in that, Newcastle was buying with real money. All the other top 6 were buying on debt. They're all up to their necks, and yet they're still trying to pay a fortune for other players and just getting deeper and deeper into the mire. So I understand what the guy from Gillingham's saying. It must be bad in small clubs at the minute. I mean, anybody watching the tragedy that's Derby County at the moment, it makes you weep to see a proud football club being treated like that. But it's the answer to the question as short as I can. Great window for me. Solved some interesting problems we had, in my view. Yes, would be nice to have seen another striker in, but I'm inclined to say that after the Leeds game, I was quite convinced we nearly had enough to get us over the line anyway. Now that with the transfer window, I think we'll definitely get over the line now.
Okay, Mitch, is it a good window for you?
Yeah, 7.5 out of 10, and an extra striker on top would have been another couple of points more. I don't think you can be unhappy sticking the thick end of £100 million into that squad. I think they've made a mix of sensible and exciting buys. And as Stu said before, every player they've bought not just improves the squad, it improves the team. And I think that's the key when we're fighting a relegation battle.
Yeah, okay. Stu?
I thought it was an outstanding window. We all know January is a hard time of year to sign players and the league position we're in, but also the way the media have whipped it up that anyone goes there is just going for money. It puts doubts in players' mind. It's all psychology, isn't it? And we've still managed to do the business we've done. I honestly think the board have done a tremendous job on gathering who they've got. We didn't get the striker that we all want, but remember, it's Eddie Howe's opinion. He might believe he's got enough. And I think after we finish the Man United game, if we said, right, we're going to add a Brazilian international midfielder, we're going to add Aston Villa's player of the year last season, and Brighton's star man at the back to that, Wood would have been happy because Wood was just about and Chris Wood, who was another regular Premier League forward. So I really can't fault what's happened with it, and I agree with Uncle George that after the Leeds game we were close enough to be staying up anyway. Add those to the mix, and now it's over to the man I've been praising all night. Anyhow, it's on him. The onus is on him now. He's had the additions and the strength. The squad's been improved. The team's been improved, and this is why I was against getting people like Costa in, and for getting people like Dwight Gale out. You want a team all singing off the same hymn sheet, whether they're in the 25-man squad or whether they're not. They're still on the same training field, and let's get everyone pulling the same direction. And you know what? We could be out with this quite comfortably before we have harder games at the end of the season, as long as results go our way. And that starts next Tuesday.
Yep. Okay, Al-Walid, happy with that window?
I am very happy. It's a really great transfer window. We have half of lineup, half of a team or a lineup team that's will improve more than 50% of the. We have Newcastle team who is strongest by 50%. I can say that. I know, and I believe Eddie Howe happy as well because he got, I think, regardless the names of the players, he got all the position he needs, and it seems he was needing extra couple of players, one in the center back and one in forward position. So that's why if we get Diego Costa, I think it will, because obviously we noticed last hours of transfer window we were really seeking for a striker more than a center back. So and we didn't get. We remember Ikitiki, we tried Dele Alli, Lingard. So obviously Eddie Howe was really wanting or needed one in the front. Hopefully, why not Diego Costa? I think he can do it for us. At least he's not injured.
Yeah. Okay, Steve Wilkinson, is that a good window for you? Holly in the chat says it's the best window in her lifetime.
Yes, I think it was. In December, I was keen to see Premier League players that could hit the ground running, and we've got 4 out of 5 really that are doing that. I think if we'd brought in 5 players, or 4, if they'd been the other way around, players who might take time to settle in. We don't know how quickly Bruno will settle. We hope he'll just come in and he'll lose quality straight away. But had we brought in maybe centre-halves particularly that were not used to playing in the Premier League, the pace might have been an issue to get used to. We know Dan Burn's going to come in. We know that Matt Targett's going to come in and totally understand what playing in the defence of a Premier League team is all about. And that was always the priority, to get that area strengthened. We knew that. So definitely a positive for me. Like everybody else, I think had we got another striker as backup to Wilson and Wood, and that would have been the icing on the cake. Lingard would have been messed around with, but at least he didn't go to West Ham, Man United, just playing hardball. I think the Greenwood thing's probably got something to do with that. And
Martial going as well.
Yeah, exactly. So I think overall good, and I'm looking forward to seeing the team selection next Tuesday.
Yeah, me too. Okay, Steve Hasty, last but by no means least, your view on this transfer window before we close a door on it until the summer.
Yeah, it was a good window. I mean, I gave it 7 out of 10 the other day, and nothing's changed in that. I think to push it to a 10 out of 10, you would have been talking about a spectacular, and it didn't materialise. What we've got is we've got an opportunity now, and I think important. You look at the 5 players we bought in Wood, Trippier, Burn, Target, and Bruno, but it's what those players are going to bring, but it's also for me now for the next from February through till May, end of the season, the rest of that 25-man squad, the other 20 of them, are fighting to justify staying at Newcastle United next season. That's the big thing for them. It's not a case of these players are going to be here. These players are going to stay. Other than perhaps target because he's on loan. But with a view to a permanent deal. Hopefully, I haven't seen anything that said it definitely was or wasn't. But you look at it and you think, well, there's your bedrock for next season. The other 2021 are now going to fight and prove to us and prove to the manager that they should be here next season as well. So that's the fight that's on. They've got to justify. I'm just looking at, you mentioned Holly there, and Holly said it was the best window since that she can remember. She's obviously forgotten about 2005 when we got Scott Parker, Emery, Tim Krul, Craig Moore, Lee Clark, Albert Luque, Michael Owen, and Nobby Solano. She's forgotten about them. Maybe it's
only born. I think she was born that year, man. Give her a chance.
That's because she forgot about Andy O'Brien leaving, Lauren Robert leaving, Craig Bellamy, Darren Ambrose, Nicky Butt, Hugo Viana, Jermaine Jennis, James Milner, Andy O'Brien, who went again, and Hugo Viana back again. So
I bet you'd swap with her now, though, Steve. She's got all these years coming ahead.
She's got a short memory. That's all I can say.
Steve, can I make another comment about the squad, the window? Those players were brought in will, without exception, make us a physically stronger team as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, there's odd times when even the defence has been a little bit lightweight. Well, not only will be much physically stronger at the back, imagine having Byrne and Trippier and Target and in the opposition penalty area for corners and free kicks. Wow. I'm looking forward to that as much as anything.
Yeah, I mean, in the last game, I mean, Trippier only had Wood to hit. The rest of them, not capable of playing at the same level. Now we've got more players in there who can make a difference. For me, being a very successful window, to see Newcastle, spending the most in Europe was fantastic, and long may it continue. So great show, lads, as always. Just over the hour, and thanks for giving up your time. Over 400 watching again. This has proven to be a really popular show, and thank you very much. We'll never take the support for granted. Take care. I'm back with Supermac and Gibbo tomorrow night at 6 o'clock, and I will see
everybody. Thank you.
And Mitch on Friday. Take care. Good night.
Cheers, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks to all our sponsors. Spider VPN for all your internet security. Google Spider VPN. They come up at the top of the Google search list. They are the boys to trust and will protect your computer from unwanted bugs. Skipsandbins.com. Telephone 0800 25 45 25 3. Email inquiries at skipsandbins.com. Website www.skipsandbins.com. Easy contract, free and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Thanks also to L&G Family Funeral Directors, 0191 389 7245, and to Garden of Healing Dispensary, CBD Hemp and Cannabinoid Specialists, www.thegohd.com. Thanks also to Arcot Interiors for all your kitchen necessities. You can find them at the bottom of Heaton Road, and Google Arcot Interiors. They come up at the top of the Google search list. Thanks also to qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Walls and Newcastle, and the guys who run our website, nufcmatters.com. Thanks also to jabsignature.co.uk for all of the flyers that they do for us. Thanks to Media Arts for all the video work. If you're a first-time visitor to the channel, please subscribe. Hit the Newcastle Legends logo in the bottom right-hand corner, and that's it. You can subscribe for free. We still do 7 shows a week, and they are all free. Hit the thumb up underneath the video to like it. Click share to your social media, and drop into the comments box to speak to like-minded Newcastle fans. We're also available as a podcast on iTunes and Spotify and other podcast providers. The show usually goes up 24 hours after the show. If you want to join the NUFC Matters cult and get a cup, a pen, a scarf, and your membership card and entry into the monthly draw, put your phone over this QR code and it will take you straight to the website. Failing that, go to nufcmatters.com and become a member. If you want to come and see Malcolm MacDonald pre-match or post-match, we are at the Dog and Parrot. It's kid-friendly and it goes great food and beer, and you can come and meet Malcolm in person before the match or after the match during the season. Make a donation to the food bank via nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk. The matchday bucket is operational 365 days of the year. If you want to follow us on social media, then go to NUFC Matters. We've got a Facebook group and we've got a Facebook page. And if you're into the true crime stuff that we do, then follow Steve Wraith's True Crime Interviews, and that is a Facebook group. My personal Twitter follow-on page is @Steve Wraith, and Instagram is Steve Wraith. Give me your follow on there too.